So I know this sentiment probably gets thrown around a lot, but the MCU films leading right up until Endgame were absolute lightning in a bottle. And sure, there was some weaker ones, some not so great ones, but to me, they were always overshadowed by some absolute bangers in those phases. Did I mention I just came back from the Marvels? So a bit of housekeeping. I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of the Marvels. Just got back from a 10 a.m. session. I'm going to give my rating, and then I'm going to talk about the mid-credit scene that played at the end of the film. Again, I'm going to be doing that after my rating, so if you guys want to switch off, if you have not seen the Marvels yet, highly advise you do so. If not, I want to talk about it because I can't not do this review without talking about it, because it's a reason I gave this film a bit of an extra bump in terms of its score. So, the basic premise of the Marvels is we've got Carol Danvers, who gets her powers entangled with those of Kamala Khan and Monica Rambeau that we know from WandaVision, and it forces them to work together to save the universe, and of course, hijinks ensue. Now, this film has copped so much shit from the get-go. When it was announced, when we got the first set photos, the first teaser trailer, the final trailer the other day, leading up to now. So, I'm going to be touching on what I like and then what I didn't like, give my overall score. Now, right off the bat, the main problem I have with this film is the introduction of the villain. You got to be operatic. You've got to have that badass reveal of your villain of the film. That sets the tone of how empowering and imposing this individual can be. And in this case, they just let it go right by the wayside. Because you have Zawe Ashton, who plays Dar-Benn, who is an imposing looking character. Literally, her introduction is her just standing there, full frame, looking at a rock. No like footsteps leading up to parts of the costume, showing parts of her hammer. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not very imposing. She's just there, standing there. And I know that comes off as a minor nitpick, but it just threw me off. And I'm just like, you don't seem that imposing. But at the same time, she looks like she was having an absolute ball portraying that character. We do have an opening animation that's kind of like neat and fun, and it gives context to Kamala dreaming of one day working with Captain Marvel. It's sweet and endearing. And going back to Kamala, to me, she was the MVP of this film, and her family. Like, the comedic timing throughout her and the family was just absolutely brilliant. I loved it when she was on screen. And I also love the success story of before she landed the role of Ms. Marvel. When she was 15 years old, she dressed up as Ms. Marvel for Halloween, and now she is portraying Ms. Marvel. That is just fucking amazing. It warms my heart. It's much in the vein of when Tom Holland was snapped with a Spider-Man costume and a Spider-Man action figure when he was a little tyke, and he goes on to portray Spider-Man. I just love hearing stuff like that. And it always warmed my heart when I was watching it up on screen. I feel like she is the heart and soul of this film. She's definitely the character that's the least affected by everything that's gone on. She's happy-go-lucky. She's like, oh, look at that, look at that. And then you've got Carol Danvers, who is the polar opposite, which, leading into the chemistry between Carol Danvers, you got Kamala and obviously Monica Rambeau, I feel their dynamics work pretty well together as a three because they're quite the polar opposites. You got Carol Danvers, who's a straight one, Kamala, who's new to the game, happy-go-lucky, and then you got Monica Rambeau that's kind of stuck in the middle and trying to keep these two together as well. And I've always loved the portrayal of Monica Rambeau in WandaVision. She really stood out to me, obviously apart from Elizabeth Olsen's amazing performance, and Paul Bentley too. One thing I always love about a Marvel film are the costumes. The costumes and the practical makeup effects in this film are second to none. They are visually stunning to look at. Even background players, background characters, further away, a little dot, a little blur. The costumes are absolutely incredible, paired with some incredible makeup effects. And that's just always one thing you can always rely on with a Marvel film. But at this point, I feel like I'm grasping at straws with trying to find the good, because this film was boring. I wanted this film to succeed and topple my expectations of what I thought would be subpar mid. Is that what the kids are saying these days? But to me, it's a film with an identity crisis. It doesn't know what it wants to do, whether it's a Captain Marvel movie, a WandaVision spin-off series, or it's going to be a Ms. Marvel series / movie. It goes through all these tones, these shifts, and it's jarring. And by the end of it, you kind of clock out, switch off, even though you've got these beautiful fight sequences and these beautiful action set pieces that just did absolutely nothing for me because I'd clocked out. The film just didn't know what it wanted to do. I think the best way to put it with the way I saw it, it felt like a Christmas special. Like, remember the Guardians Christmas special that aired like a year or two ago? It felt like the Marvel's Christmas special without Christmas, and it's something you'd see drop on Disney Plus right in the lead up to Christmas in December, because at one point there is a musical number when the girls go to a planet and the only way they can communicate is through song, and they do this little almost bordering on Bollywood number. It's a musical, and I thought, what are you trying to be? Are you trying to be a comic book movie, a musical, a spin-off series? I don't know. Again, the film doesn't feel cohesive and it just switches in tone so much and it doesn't know what it wants to be. Like, the editing is very jarring and choppy. Sometimes it didn't take time to allow scenes to breathe and transition smoothly into the next one. It's just a jarring cut and you're there. Much like the reveal of our villain at the very beginning of the film. If the film had just stuck to what it intended to be and just focused on one theme and just was more cohesive, then it would have been a completely different story with me sitting here talking to you guys. Again, at the end of the day, I wanted this film to succeed big time against all adversity, and I know it's going to be one of those films where it's going to divide people. It's going to be one of those things where if you say you love it, people will say, "What's wrong with you? It's unsubbed." If you say I hate it, "What's wrong with you? Unsubbed." Actually, what are the kids saying these days? If you love a Marvel film that everyone's hating, you're what, a shill, and you're in Mickey Mouse's pocket. Get fucked, mate. Again, I tried to find so much good. I love the character of Kamala in this film and her family. The costumes were great, the set pieces were great. Visually, it is a beautiful looking film. But when your film doesn't know what the hell it wants to do, when there's so much going on and it's not laser focused, you lose me. All those elements just drop by the wayside. And I thoroughly enjoyed Brie Larson's performance in this film as opposed to Captain Marvel and, say, Endgame. I felt there was a bit more warmth to her character this time around, whereas in previous instances, I always just felt like she was just a cold and sterile characterization of Carol Danvers. Look, unfortunately, guys, this one just did not do it for me. I was bored because the film just didn't know what to do. It didn't grab my attention. It had a few good things going for it, but ultimately it just could not save it for me. So with that, I'm going to be giving the Marvels 2 gooses out of 5. Is it gooses or 2 geeses? 2 geese? Alright. So now that I have stated my rating for this film, I want to talk about the mid-credits scene. So if you haven't seen it, I highly advise you click off, but I really want to talk about it because it was the saving grace for me not giving this film a 1 or a 1.5. And it gives me hope for what could come next. So we see Monica Rambeau wake up and there is Hank McCoy, aka Beast, aka Kelsey fucking Grammer, aka Frasier. But not in Beast makeup. He's doing a mocap version of Beast. It's probably one of those things where I feel like this was a last minute addition. They're essentially just like, Kelsey, we're going to put a mocap suit on you, but we're going to have your mannerisms, your facial structure, and your beautiful voice to accompany the look of Hank McCoy. I think Kelsey Grammer as Beast is one of the most genius casting decisions in comic book film history. Like, I want to do a whole video on like when they got the casting oh so right, because to me Beast is like Frasier, just well-traveled, well-educated, well-spoken, and just an absolute dapper motherfucker. But now we have the inclusion of the X-Men universe, and that's why after seeing this mid-credit scene, it gave me so much hope as to what is coming next, and hopefully the saving grace of the next phase of the MCU. Love you guts, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.